Hello everybody and welcome to Awesome Epic Guys with Zwhatsh and
You know that scrub Edwin 20.
Team Clash has ended thanks to everybody who took part in this amazing community event. I hope everybody had a good time in this amazing event. We did, at least.
We made some posts a couple of days ago on our social media platforms that the AwesomeEpicGuys commander should have been delivered to your barracks by now. So if you joined Team AwesomeEpicGuys on the European server and you reach level 10 or higher in Team Clash, the crew member should be in your barracks, in your recruits. Here we go. So it should be somewhere around here, ready to be recruited, and it should have 6 Sense as a 0 skill perk.
We were the losing team, unsurprisingly, so we only receive a 6 Sense perk on our commander. So if you want some additional skills on our Awesome Epic Guys commander, you can use some crew box or whatever.
I got one Awesome Epic Guys commander from Wargaming before the event finished to showcase. I put that one inside the Progetto, but there was a little bit of cheats involved because that was just provided by Wargaming. The real commander that I got from the event, I put inside my Ruski Heavy Tonk. Here it is, inside the IS-22. So here it is, straight from the event. And as you can see, he has 6 Sense as a 0 skill perk, and then he has 3 more skills. And I accomplished that just by going into the crew books tab, and I just threw a bunch of crew books at him. So now he's very good, along with an amazing Ruski crew. So that is one way of boosting your commander in case you're not happy with just 6 Sense.
If you're having difficulties deciding on which tank to put our crew member in, we would suggest that you put us in a nation that you play a lot. Maybe like the Americans, the Russians or the Germans, as they have the most tanks. We put our commander in the double barrel tanks because we also have Russian heavy premiums that we can switch between these crews.
And so Wargaming will probably introduce a hell of a lot more Russian tanks in the future, so yay.
Yeah. So we can put it in the double barrel tanks, KV2, KV5, and a lot of other Ruski meme tanks and so on. But
yep.
So that's just our suggestion.
The final decision is obviously up to you, but keep in mind that you can only have one of these commanders, at least for now, and you will not be able to swap nation. Try and stick to Germany, the United States and Russia, but that's just our suggestion. And also guys, we are really interested to know in which tank did you put me and Zwhatsh as a commander. We would love to hear that. Let us know in the comments below.
To all the people who wasn't able to get our commander, by any means, maybe you're on NA or Asia or on any other server, or just simply wasn't able to reach level 10 in the Team Clash mode. We told you earlier we are working on a mod pack that would include us as some kind of commander and our voice lines. We talked a bit about this with Wargaming and we're like, hey, can we use the voice lines from the Team Clash mode and implement in a mod pack? They weren't super happy about us promoting this.
So the problem is that Wargaming, they obviously want you guys to have a good time and enjoy our voice lines, but they also want to keep the voice lines to the in-game commander itself, otherwise they might feel that the community who actually grinded for the commander might feel cheated. And they also have told us that they have considered having similar events on other servers, or to straight up even transfer our and other commanders to other servers for future events, or maybe just put them out for sale. We don't know, this is just something they're considering. And if they are gonna do that, it would be pretty bad if we would promote a mod pack with the exact same stuff, because then people wouldn't appreciate once Wargaming actually introduced that onto the other servers. So we are not 100% sure what we're gonna do right now. One of the alternatives is that if we get the time, we could just record like all the voice lines all over again, just create a new mod pack with similar voices, not just the exact same ones. Or we could maybe have permission to get some of the voice lines and also create some new ones and also take some from YouTube. We don't know for sure yet. We're gonna try to make something happen, but we can't promise it will be the exact same experience as if you had the commander itself. Or maybe we can be kind and convince Wargaming, like, please, can we please promote this mod pack? Because the problem is we have all the voice lines from all the commanders in a folder on our desktop, but we only receive them promising that we wouldn't share them further without permission, so we can't do that, because otherwise Wargaming probably won't give us any stuff again in the future. I would just say stay tuned, and probably the best way to pick up on this mod pack once it's actually released is probably to head on to our Discord server. That is probably where we're gonna make the first testing and the first announcements. A link in the description.
We're gonna make some, like, conclusions about this event, like discuss the pros and cons, but before we do that, let's just take a quick look at how everything turned out in the end.
It doesn't look very good, does it, Zwhatsh?
Well, unsurprisingly, AwesomeEpicGuys team ended up in the 4th place. This is what we anticipated right from the get-go. Like, as soon as we signed that contract, like 3 months ago, we were like, we're gonna lose this shit so hard, man. We got 13,740,073 points, so almost 14 million points. And at 3rd place, this was kind of surprising to me, Des Games at 23 million points.
Because we actually expected that he would win, because he has the most followers and subscribers.
We're not sure.
No.
And in 2nd place, this is kind of cool, Mayland, the German boy.
The 9 boy!
4 million. So the only like real competition that actually happened here was kind of between the Maylands team and Des Games team.
Yeah, that was actually really exciting. Like almost every day when I logged in, they kept swapping places, especially in the evening during the morale booster. They kept overtaking each other.
And at the top, everybody saw this one coming. Skill 4 almost at freaking double the points of the 2nd place, 45 million points.
I kind of expected that he would win just after the first day, just by watching the points, but I didn't think he would win that hard.
Our theory to what happened here is that, first of all, I think Skill 4 has the most experienced and, well, skilled community, so they had an easier time just gathering those points. And secondly, his community is the largest and most active, I think. And thirdly, all the people that did not really care about any of these content creators probably, this is just a theory, but probably joined Skill 4's team just for the 4-skill commander, as he was obviously gonna win this entire thing.
If you aren't watching any of the 4 content creators, you probably don't give a crap which voice you're gonna hear, or if you don't want to hear the voice, you can just disable those voices, right? So then you will most likely pick the commander that you know is gonna win, because let's be honest, a 4's perk commander is pretty damn rare.
Yeah, it was like Skill 4 was just sailing at the top of everybody else, and
yeah.
Then Des Games and Melee had a Duke in the middle, and then AwesomeEpicGuys was like...
And also I could bring that up, like, AwesomeEpicGuys being so low in this competition has created a lot of juicy memes online. I'm gonna showcase a few on screen right now if I can find them. So there were some that we promoted ourselves and created ourselves, and there were also a bunch of others that just popped up on like Reddit and on like random Facebook or Tanks groups. It was hilarious, but like people didn't do this to offend us. They just did it for the memes, and we agreed with pretty much every single one of them. And it's hilarious.
Yes. And now people, we're gonna have a small but probably very long discussion about the pros and cons of this game mode.
We're gonna be positive, and we're gonna begin with all the pros, and after that list we're gonna discuss all the cons of this game mode. So Zwhatsh, why don't you begin with the first pros on this list? And we also need to give a shout out to our Epic Discord community members for providing a bunch of feedback. So the feedback you're about to hear, both the pros and the cons, they are opinions divided by me, Zwhatsh, and our most dedicated community members.
So first of all, the community interaction has been amazing, both for us and our community, but also between us and Skills and Des Games and Maylands community. We have never been so in touch with our community like this before. And also when we've been streaming, there's been coming in people from Skills 4 stream and Des Game streams and Mayland streams, and we were like, hello comrade, how's it going? And we were like, it's going great, we're on the top 4, bro, let's do this shit.
So everyone was cheering everyone on, and it was fantastic. And you probably noticed that if you saw one of our later YouTube videos where Mayland, Des Games and Skill 4 LTU rated us in one and the same video, and that was in one and the same evening. So in one single evening we got raided by all the other Team Clash members, so we had all the memes on
Yes.
one Twitch channel, and it was just epic. We raided Desk Games, Mayland, and Skill for a bunch of times as well. We were just raiding each other back and forth, and just kept the memes going, and it was just a fantastic atmosphere, and everyone just had a fantastic time, just as we had been hoping for. Fantastic. So I actually did not expect this at all. Me and Zwhatsh, neither of us are fans of tier 10 gameplay. We think it's
Campy.
yeah, campy, or just a bunch of tryhard spamming gold in hold down tanks you can't penetrate. I think tier 10 was a lot more fun a couple of years ago, but right now it's just not the greatest experience. So I had a bit...
In our opinion.
Yes, in our opinions. So I had a bit of mixed emotions when Wargaming told us that this would be tier 10 only. But geez, was I wrong. This has been, Team Clash tier 10 only has been one of the most relaxed, chilled, well, and just fun game mode overall.
Me personally, I'm terrible at tier 10, but in this game mode, it's been just relaxed and funny. I haven't really felt that kind of pressure to perform well in this game mode. It's just been good. It's been nice.
Yes. Stats weren't involved at all. So you could pull off a bunch of crap, as you probably saw in some of our highlight videos. For example, probably the best moment of them all was when I was capping on Malinovka and Zwhatsh driving his VZ. He just parked on top of us, blocking his entire team. He died, he did 0 damage, but he still secured the win. And those are the kind of stuff that you can pull off when you don't have stats involved.
So the next point is that a 7-7 game mode, which means few players, leaves more room to move around and have more of an impact. This has been real nice because in random battles, 15 versus 15, especially at tier 10, where there's so much HP involved and so much tanks, there's very little room for like mistakes and screw-ups. But in this mode, there's more room to move around on the map, but also due to the lack of players in the mode, there's been a lot of room to carry. Individual performance has been more important in this mode, which has been very nice.
Another thing, it's very short, but something I actually didn't pay attention to at first, is that because it's tier 10 only, there is no matchmaking spread. So you will never be one of those games where you just get completely by a +2 tank, or you will just ruffle stomp a lower tier tank. For the most part, it's an even battlefield.
Next point, obviously, the commander and all the user rewards along the way has just been glorious. Being part of this game is nothing that Edwin and I really imagined to happen ever. And obviously, I'm so happy for Mayland and Desk Games and Skill 4 as well. It's like super awesome that Wargaming actually made this happen.
In case you find this video later down the line, you didn't take part in this game mode, so you picked a team, 1 or 4 content creators. After the event, if you reached a certain level, you got the commander of that content creator. It looks like the content creator and sounds like them, which is just epic. And you also got like this, you got well, this one is a paid style. You could also get another style that is called like AwesomeEpicGuys rewards, if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. It almost looks the same, it's pretty similar. You also got a bunch of emblems. I'm probably gonna bring it up on screen somewhere. Emblems, decals.
Decals.
Yeah, so just a bunch of cool rewards.
The next good thing is rental tanks. It's really nice that there's many players who do not even own tier 10 tanks, and being able to play a tier 10 tank at all, just free to play. That's a pretty nice move by Wargaming.
Because the game mode was so relaxing in comparison to normal tier 10 games, it's probably a very good environment for a new player to try out tier 10, just to get a feeling for it. And who knows, maybe even find their new favorite tier 10 that they want to grind for. We don't completely agree with the tanks that they gave away for rentals, but we're gonna talk more about that in the cons later.
And next point, boosters was a really nice touch, and it made the grind not grindy. And it gave a lot more interaction with the community. We sat on Discord and was like, hey, soon the morale boost is going up, bitches, be ready.
Me and Zwhatsh, we don't have the privilege of being full-time content creators. We have jobs and studies to attend to, but for the other ones who are doing this full-time and are streaming a lot, this was an extremely good way to interact with your community. Like, you can sit on live stream having thousands of people watching and be like, okay boys, which booster should we go for next, and then people tell you which one to pick, you pick that one, then people just head out and play with you. It's just a great way to interact with your community, and it also affects the gameplay. I think my favorite perk was the don't kill all cap perk. This is a very small point, but I still think it's pretty important. So my name had like a green tint color on it when I was playing around, like a marking to show that this is the team captain. And I just thought that was an amazing way for wargaming of doing it, so you knew if you got into a game either with your captain or an enemy captain, because they would be displayed for the enemy team as well, you knew that straight away, and that just added a bunch of excitement. There was almost every single game that I played, no matter if it was on stream or if I played in platoons or if I just played alone, there was almost at least someone who said, "Hello Edvan, let's do this for the memes." And I think that the indicator that showed where we are and when we are had a bit of an impact. So a small detail, but a very nice detail by wargaming. Have to agree on that.
The next point we also briefly mentioned, but the mode didn't affect your stats, and this hugely helped in just being a relaxed game mode that you could do whatever the crap you wanted and not getting punished
statistically.
Yes, thank you, Edvan.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Zwhatsh. Move on.
So the next point is that tanks that people usually didn't play in randoms actually worked better in this game mode. So, for example, I was playing my Jagdpanzer 100 a lot,
which is considered pretty crap.
but I played it a lot in this game mode, and I had a good time. The game mode was built around that you usually always knew where the enemies were gonna pop out. I knew where I was gonna place my Jagdpanzer and be effective. So you could experiment a lot with different tanks that you didn't really think would work.
Yeah, so I played tanks like the Jagdpanzer 100, which I usually don't play. I usually don't like it. I played tanks like the IS-7. I played tanks like the K91. The Batchat I played a lot. I even put my This Game's commander in the Batchat. I played tanks like the Sheridan. I even played a couple of games in artillery. T-57 Heavy. The Foch 50B, whatever you call it. I played the Super Conqueror, TBP, Kram, just a bunch of tanks that I normally just don't play because there are just other tanks that I find better or more interesting. But because the game mode was so different, there were so few players, such few selected maps, and such a relaxed game mode, you could just go with whatever tank you felt like. I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Usually worked.
Yeah.
Next point is that anyone could level up in this game mode, no matter skill level.
Literally anyone.
So there was a huge worry in the community that this team clash would be just another grind like wargaming usually does.
People thought it was going to be like Frontline or like a marathon.
But literally I have a friend who started playing this game just for this team clash event. So a person with literally no World of Tanks skills whatsoever completed this marathon in a decent amount of time.
My brother, Emric, you might have seen him in some of the live streams that I hosted on myself. He has like 2,000 games played. He created his account in 2011. He hasn't played World of Tanks in like 5 or 6 years. He came back to this game just because he wanted to see his brother inside one of his tanks. Even with like so little experience, like he didn't even know that they were British tanks in this game. Like that's how inexperienced he is. There are British tanks now? I'm like, yes, brother. That was a long time ago. And he completed this like in no time, just a couple of evenings. We did play together a lot during the boosters though, and I think we accomplished this in maybe like 3 or 4 evenings of gameplay together. And that is with a player who has literally no idea what they're doing. So anyone, literally anyone, could complete this if you just put in a little bit of time.
I think the fastest someone completed everything was in 6 hours.
The first couple of days, you might remember, I was jumping around on a bunch of Discord channels, just talking to people who were playing Team Clash, and I also asked almost every single one, like, how far have you gotten, how much have you played? And about on average, I would say that our tomato community, they leveled on average 1 level per hour, so that is 10 hours. But that 10-hour span will obviously become a lot shorter if you place your time, your play session during the boosters. And I have one member, the first guy I talked to, Silaka, some of you might know him, he managed to achieve level 10 on the second evening. Not much of a grind at all. So thank you Wargaming for not putting our commander behind an epic grind wall.
This is one small but also huge point. Artillery wasn't annoying. I remember one game where I complained about artillery. I was sitting inside a cap on Prokhorovka in my Jag Panzer 100, and one artillery piece just decapped me and through the entire game. And I was
makes a bit of sense. There are probably two reasons why this is. First of all, and probably the main reason is that there just weren't that many artillery pieces around. So most games were completely free of artillery, and that was just, fantastic. You hear that, Wargaming? The second reason was those games where there was an artillery piece, there was just one, which meant that it was so easy to keep count on, first of all, where he was, because if one of your teammates took a hit, they could just ping on the map, the guy's sitting over there, and then you could just adjust accordingly. And you could just time your pushes between reloads. If you knew that, okay, the T-92 just fired, now we can make our move. When there are 2 or 3 artillery pieces in random games, for example, you just can't do that. You don't know where all of them are, you can't time the reloads, there will always be someone watching you. In Team Clash, all of that just disappeared, and it was just fantastic. Another good point, a very short and simple one, it was very easy to cap. This was Encounter. I'm used to Encounter where you need like 1.5 minutes with 3 people to cap. I'm not sure how much you need. I think you need like maybe 35 seconds, something like that, when you were 3 people capping. And this just so strongly encouraged people to actually go and cap. Like everyone, almost every single game, like the whole battle was played around the cap zone. That didn't mean that most games ended with capping, but you still needed to be around the cap to prevent the enemy from capping. And that just resulted in so many tanks going to the same spots, having this epic duke out. And those few games where you actually did cap, it felt way more rewarding as well, because you could actually cap in a reasonable amount of time.
Yes. The game mode being so centered around the cap made the game mode so much more engaging and action-packed.
And less campy.
And finally, on our good points list, is that the matchmaking was really fast. I think in our AwesomeEpicGuys team we had to wait for a maximum of 2 seconds for a game to start.
And that was usually even when platooning. If you played solo, the matchmaker was like literally instant. We can't speak for the other content creators. I assume Skill4 LTU, he probably had a bit of a longer queue, but we've been speaking to some of them. I think the longest they had to wait was up to a minute, and that was when platooning with artillery. So that makes complete sense. So fast matchmaker, good job. I was really afraid when this event was about to start that we wouldn't have enough people to form AwesomeEpicGuys teams. Like I would just hit the bell button and just, well, shit. But that wasn't the case. The matchmaker was flooded throughout the whole event.
And this fast matchmaking really helped in making the grind faster as well.
So even if you had a horrible game, you could just leave your tank, jump into the next one, and earn another 2 or 4 points.
Yes. Next game, points.
Yes.
Heading over to the cons. Okay, so our first point on the cons of this game mode, this is a point that we brought up earlier, is that few players make individual performance more important, which punishes below average players.
So if you are a really bad player, or let's just call you below average, in a random battle, if you play, hundreds or maybe thousands of games, you might level out at, I don't know, maybe 45-46% win rate. In Team Clash, with the same performance, that might drop to as low as 20, if not lower. Especially if you were on the AwesomeEpicGuys team, who just had the overall worst community in terms of performance. So it's a great thing that you can make plays that makes a difference, but it's also bad for people who are bad players and need to be carried, because if you're bad and you play alone in Team Clash, you're probably gonna lose the majority of your games, and there is really nothing Wargaming can do about that, I think, apart from maybe the rentals, but we're gonna talk about that later. Next point, Zwhatsh.
Rental tanks.
Okay.
We think the rental tanks are great as a concept, but we think they could have been done better.
A lot better.
So, for example, the WZ 5A as a first rental tank, it's great in the right hands.
You really need to know how to use it.
But in the hands of a beginner, which, let's be honest here, most people who played the rental tanks was beginners who didn't, or at least people who didn't have a tier 10 tank. The rental tanks, in our opinion, needs to be more beginner friendly.
The VZ, the problem with this thing is that a new player logs into this game mode, oh, tier 10 tank, oh, it's a heavy tank, fantastic. So what do they expect? They expect armor, they expect health, and they expect a good gun. The VZ has most of those, but it doesn't have the armor, especially not in the hull. So what I saw so many people doing in the VZ, they just drove up to a corner, angled, and then started side scraping. And you can pen them like every single time. The VZ is more of a hold down or face hug tank. You need to be super aggressive to make this thing work. And then you put that tank in the hand of an inexperienced player, they're just gonna die. And also the fact that the VZ is fuel tanks and ammo rack on tracks doesn't help.
Yeah.
So we would probably replace the VZ with a more noob-friendly heavy tank, probably tanks like the IS-7. Then we had the 140. It's not the greatest pick, but it's definitely a good pick for a tier 10 medium. If I was wargaming, I would probably go for like maybe a 430U, just something that is extremely noob-friendly, but 140 is still okay, it works. And then the third tank, Panzerkampfwagen 7. Pretty good pick, because this is like a typical heavy tank. The only thing I don't like about this being a rental is that your turret is mounted in the back, and most inexperienced players probably don't know how to deal with that. But still, you had health, you have armor, and a big gun.
And the fourth rental that you received was the Judas, which is kind of weird because that's like a ridgeline warrior, which uses like kind of unique mechanics with a siege mode and all that.
And the turret is also mounted kind of in the back. So if you are just peeking around corners, you're gonna get tracked and get wrecked.
Yeah, very weird pick in our opinion.
Then the last one I think was the Progetto 65, I think it's called. It's personally probably my favorite tier 10. I've played it a lot in Team Clash. It's a fantastic tank, but again, you have no armor, you're quick, you have a unique auto-reloader ability, and then you put those things in the hands of an inexperienced player, probably not the greatest pick. It's not a horrible pick, but still a pretty weird pick because of how the auto-reloader works.
So the next point, as this was all played at tier 10, it was a huge credit drain for free-to-play players.
Yeah, not just free-to-play players. I've heard so many people on our Discord server crying like, oh my god, this game mode is so expensive, and I'd be like, are you running food for your crew? They'd be like, yes. Are you spamming gold at everyone? And they were like, yes. Well, there you have it. The games are so short-lived, and most of the engagement you're gonna do are just gonna be where you just bum rush someone. So having food on your crew on such short games and to spam premium rounds at everything wasn't really worth it. And I have a premium account, and I am, let's just call me an above average player at least. And at the beginning, I was running food and I was spamming quite a bit of gold, and I lost credits like no tomorrow. As soon as I stopped spamming gold and I didn't use food on my crew, I actually made a lot of credits, with a premium account that is. But if you don't have a premium account, you would probably struggle no matter what. Well, a couple of simple ways to fix this, especially for the free-to-play players or players who don't have tier 10s, would be to, how about the tier 10 rentals? How about you just reduce the repair cost, maybe even make them completely free to repair? You could reduce or even make the free ammunition, for example, at least like the normal rounds or the AG round, make those free and you'll need to pay extra for the premium ammunition. And I would also like to see equipment pre-mounted, like the default ones, like, you know, optics, rammer, vertical stabilizer, you know, the basic stuff. And then obviously have some kind of limits put in that you won't be able to just take this off and sell it, just have them permanent on these rental tanks that later disappear after the event, to just make it easy for free-to-play players.
Next point, there was a booster called Tactical Ploys.
The meme booster! Oh.
Admittedly, some people actually loved it, but I think the general community didn't like it because it promoted kind of toxic behavior. The booster was all about you got 3 points no matter if you lost or if you won the game. So you could do whatever the crap you wanted.
Yeah, when I started playing, I thought that the Ploys perk made it so that you got 1 point extra if you lost. So you got 3 for losing and 4 for winning. But that wasn't the case. After a couple of games I realized that, hey, I'm still only getting 3 points even when I'm winning. Why am I even trying? And also because of this, and there are no stats involved, what a lot of people did during the Ploys booster is that they just picked like a fast light tank with low repair cost. They just bum rushed across the map. They either suicided jumping off a cliff, they drowned, or they just rammed the first heavy tank they saw. A lot of people also just stayed AFK, so they made 3 points extremely fast. And I just think this perk should be completely reworked, or even removed.
A good community member who will not name because reasons, he tried to gather as much points as he possibly could by just suiciding.
I requested him to do that in the name of science. So
Yes.
he didn't do it on his own behalf. I told him just to see how much points you could get.
During the tactical ploys booster, he just started the game, YOLO Rush died, exit game, went into the next tank, YOLO Rush died, and so on. During 1 hour of tactical ploys, which was 36 battles in total,
In 1 hour, that's f***ing madness.
he managed to get 108 points, which is almost 2 tiers in
Yeah.
1 hour.
Yeah, by doing nothing but suiciding. He didn't leave the game or go AFK or anything. He did actually, drive across the map, shooting a couple of shells and then ram someone. So he could have probably gotten even more points if he just drowned or jumped off a cliff or just left the game straight away. But he didn't go that low.
Speaking of boosters, the frontal assault, we only speak from our AwesomeEpicGuys community experience, but we were never able to achieve this booster. So when you activated this booster, you activated some kind of mission to gather a specific amount of points within this booster's activation time. So within 1 hour, you were required to achieve X amount of points. And if you completed this points goal, you would be rewarded with a bunch of bonus points for your team. But we were never able to complete this.
From what I've heard, all the other content creators, they achieved they reached those points every single time without even tryharding. But our community didn't achieve it a single time. There was one time where we were close, but we never achieved it. So that feels kind of lame.
Yeah, so maybe change the algorithm of how the points are calculated.
A lot of people, especially in our Discord community, they were saying that there were just so many bad players inside of this game mode. I disagree. There were probably no more or less bad players in Team Clash than you could see in your average random battle. I think the problem was the distribution of bad players. Mainly speaking about the AwesomeEpicGuys community, because we are just a bunch of memers, we're not tryharding, and we aren't anywhere near as experienced as the other communities. When I was playing this game mode solo, I managed to win maybe 20, maybe 30% of my games. It wasn't that fun at all when you just keep losing game after game. I mean, it didn't matter, but I could literally play for 2 hours without winning a single game, and 2 hours in Team Clash, that's a lot of games. While as soon as you platooned up, your win ratio might rise to 50 or even higher.
One way Wargaming could fix this is, we mentioned this earlier, Skill Force team was huge.
Yeah.
We think that happened here during this Team Clash. First of all, huge fans of the content creators in this Team Clash. They just chose their favorite content creator, and then we got the base teams. But afterwards, random people who didn't really care about any of the content creators probably joined Skills team because he was in the lead and we're probably gonna win, and they just wanted us for Skill Commander. And because of this, most experienced players landed in the Skills team. We think Wargaming needs to give random people more reasons to pick a losing team. This was probably more a problem for us at AwesomeEpicGuys, but boosters had to be manually activated. I'm a full-time student and Edwin is a full-time worker. We were not able to be at our computers at all times.
So there were 6 times per day where you had to manually press a button inside the garage. And if you have a job and a family and whatever, that's just not doable. It's a great way to interact with your community if you're a full-time streamer. But if you're not, we think there should be a system where you could set these to just start automatically. So what we had to do, we had to have this epic communication on Discord, like who's gonna activate the booster today, who's gonna do it next time, who's gonna do it tomorrow. And Wargaming were also kind enough to give us like press accounts or Team Clash special accounts to us that we then could give to our moderators, who could log in when we weren't available to do it and activate the booster. So a lot of the time when the booster started, it wasn't me and Zwhatsh, it was our moderators who did it, because we told them on Discord, hey, I'm not at home, someone start the booster! I want to schedule them. Somehow.
Yes, next point is a brief one, but we mentioned earlier that people who were suiciding and stood AFK still gathered points, which we think is bad. So please, Wargaming, make people who are idle or are you suiciding, don't give them points.
Yeah, or just set a limit that you need to earn like at least 100, like base experience, something that you will earn by just hitting a tank once or something, so you can't just suicide, drown, jump off a cliff, or just ram yourself to death. Just
promote being active.
Yeah.
So the next point is that it was very unclear to what level you had to reach to earn certain rewards. Like, people are asking even today, like, what level did I have to reach to get the commander?
Yeah, it wasn't clear at all. Wargaming did a video that made it somewhat clear. I think the guy said like once, if you reach level 10 you get the commander. But most people didn't watch that video, and even if you did, it was so much information in one short video, it was easy to miss. And when you, I'm probably gonna bring it up on screen somewhere if I find a screenshot of it, you had like this progression bar that went to level 10, you had the team progression and then you had your own progression, and even I confused these together somehow, that sometimes I didn't know if I was watching at my own progression, my team progression, or which one that made a difference. So some people thought that if the team progression was high enough, if the team got to level 10 they got the commander, and some people thought that only they had to get to level 10, and some people thought that just picking a team would be enough to get the commander, and other people thought that you had to reach level 30 to get the commander, and other people thought that you had to reach level 10 and then win the event to get the commander. It was such a mess. So it had to be extremely clear inside the game what you need to do.
And I know inside the game as well, where it said epic reward for completing the event is the commander, but it didn't say what you had to do to get it. It just said after the event you will get the commander, but it didn't say how to get it. It just said you will get it.
So if you just picked a team and then you read that, you probably thought, oh, I'll get the commander after the event, nice, and then they didn't bother. Because we made a post on YouTube, or Facebook, Twitter, a bunch of those medias, like 1 or 2 days ago, showing our commander, like, oh, it's in the garage, now you can recruit him if you reached level 10. And there were a lot of people who were like, what? I needed to play? I thought I just had to pick a team. Now I'm so upset.
So Wargaming, you need to be a lot more clear about all the pieces of information for these events.
Especially like the main reward. The commander's the thing everyone wanted, right? And it needs to be super duper very clear.
Glass clear. Oh well, next point. Our community had a point where they noticed that facing triple platoons usually resulted in our team losing the game, especially when facing Shift 10s, 279s and EBRs.
We did mention this previously, that you had a lot of impact, which is a great thing if you're a good player playing on your own. But if you are a bad player, or just an average player, and you keep going up against a triple platoon with chieftains spamming gold, you don't stand a bloody chance. And I honestly don't know a good way to fix this, because this is just a result of overpowered tanks inside a game mode with few players. There isn't really a good way to fix it, apart from maybe nerfing overpowered tanks, but it will still be a problem even if people were tryharding in something like an IS-4. It will still be a problem.
Me and Edwin ourselves, I don't think we were too affected by Shift 10s and 279Es.
No, almost never.
No, you could face those like maybe once in 10 battles, but the tanks that really stood out for me and Edwin was the EBR 105, which had just so much power in this game mode. Because the map is just an open battlefield, and there's so much room to flank, and there's so little tanks, or at least less tanks that are aiming at you than it is in randoms. Because of this, the EBRs just has so much power in this game mode, which made them extremely annoying.
Well, you could nerf the EBRs so you actually do damage once you hit them, but, just saying, Wargaming.
Yeah, and maybe don't give them like freaking laser guided accuracy at 500 meters going 500 kph.
The map selection? Well, overall, I think the map selection was pretty good, but I thought Malinovka was horrible. I just didn't enjoy Malinovka at all. And there were also some maps that I really missed inside this game, especially Himmelsdorf. I would have loved to see Himmelsdorf inside this game. There are a bunch of other maps as well, but Himmelsdorf is the one I'm gonna point out. Just bring in Himmelsdorf and out with Malinovka, damn it! Next point, we have kind of already talked about this. Inexperienced players playing this game mode as if they were random battles. I don't know how many times, as I just talked about Malinovka, where everyone just rushed the hill, and once they had claimed the hill, they just sit there and get outcapped. I don't know how many times people have went in slow-moving, super heavy tanks on 2-line on Lakeville. People just go to these typical spots, which is fine. They're just playing the game they normally do, but it just doesn't work in Team Clash. You need to stick with your team, and you, for the most part, need to cover the cap circle, and if you don't do that, you are a huge disadvantage to your team.
This is probably nothing that can be changed It's just how things are.
But still worthy to point out.
Our community has been saying that they have been experiencing a lot of gold spam, which in our experience hasn't been too much of a problem.
When we went to our Discord and was reading the feedback, the Team Clash feedback section, almost every single one made a point that it was too much gold spam.
But since the new balance is coming, this will probably not be a problem in the future. So our community has been saying that they thought it was bad that it was tier 10 only. And this is not something that me and Edwin was really affected by, but we can understand the reasoning because tier 10 is expensive and there's a lot of overpowered reward tanks going around, and there's a lot of extreme tanks in tier 10.
And some of the players who are playing Team Clash may not have ever gone up against a tier 10 tank in the past.
Some of our community members said that they wanted the tier to be pushed down to tier 9. I can understand this reasoning because tier 9 hasn't any overpowered reward vehicles to begin with. You save more credits by playing tier 9, and I think tier 9 is generally a more balanced tier.
Problem is that tier 9 and any other tier, most people probably don't have a bunch of tier 9 just stacked in their garage, and Wargaming obviously want to encourage you to level up the tech tree and play your own tanks. Me personally, I have let me check. I have currently 43 tier 10s in my garage. I have a bunch more unlocked I haven't purchased yet. And let's just compare that to tier 9. I got 4.
And they obviously want to reward those people who have gathered a lot of tier 10 tanks.
Yeah.
Because that's like the end game.
Yeah, and almost no matter what tier you pick, apart from maybe tier 9, there will always be overpowered alternatives. I don't know how many times I've said this on streams. If they would have gone for tier 8, everyone would just play tier 8 premiums like the Defender and the Progetto. It would just be like skirmishes. If you would go tier 7, everyone would just play E25s and T29. If you go tier 6, everyone would just play T3045M and Cromwell Berlins. If you go to tier 5, you would only see like T67s. The list never ends. There will always be an overpowered mainstream meta tank no matter the tier. I don't think just moving away from tier 10 is gonna fix that. One completely different alternative, apart from just changing tier, could be to make Team Clash more like Homefront, if you guys remember that game mode, where you had to just pick like one out of, I don't know, 4 or 5 tanks, and you can unlock some more on the way. And they had like the same setup, the same everything. You played the exact same tank as your opponent was playing, same crew, same equipment, same ammo. Probably wouldn't be as fun, but it's definitely an alternative. Or maybe Wargaming could do the same with rentals. Maybe if you join Team Clash, you get like 20 tier 10 rentals, and they are completely free to play. You don't need to pay anything. And that would even the battlefield, but I don't think that would make the game mode as interesting. And again, Wargaming want to encourage people to level up and want to reward people who have been playing this game a lot. So I don't think there is an easy fix to that.
That's it for all our pros and cons for this game mode. Generally, we are pretty happy and content with this game mode. I think it was a very good first attempt.
But this was the second attempt though, wasn't it? They had one on the Russian server last year as well.
True. I've heard some Russians say that the environment between the Team Clash contenders were kinda stiff. We've been trying here to make this event as fun as possible and as wholesome as possible between all the content creators involved.
And it really has been. I did not think this would go as smooth as it did.
We are very positive that a second edition will be happening sometime in the future on EU. Perhaps this will move on to other servers as well.
I don't see why they wouldn't make a Team Clash 2.0 on Europe or other servers when they've already had 2 attempts on the Russian servers. I really don't see why not. And this brings us into our next point. What content creators we would like to see in Team Clash 2.0.
We still want to see Quickie Baby.
A lot of people probably think that we absolutely hate Quickie Baby.
That was not our intent with the video we did. We made that one to kind of
counter all the negative vibes and miscommunication that is spread about the event. Quickie Baby, he can cry at Wargaming as much as he wants about the game being trash, selling of public power premiums. That's completely fine. But because he brought up us, or well, not us, but Team Clash that we were taking part in, we couldn't just sit and watch and let his community make this event less enjoyable for our community. That's why we made that video. But we would still love to see Quickie Baby in a future Team Clash because Quickie
think-
Baby has a huge
Yeah.
community, and they would definitely appreciate and love to see him as a commander inside the game.
We think Quickie Baby deserves to be in the game. We don't really see ourselves as people who should be in the game.
No, I think a lot of people can agree on that. We are so small and insignificant. Why Wargaming
Yeah.
picked us, we still don't know.
I think it makes sense to Quickie Baby to be part of this, and we would love to see him in this Team Clash in the future. So
And-
hopefully he will see that this game mode is fun and wholesome.
I really don't think this will bring any harm to your community, Quickie Baby, if you happen to watch this. And I'm sorry if you got upset about the video, but as I said, we did it to kind of counter all the negative vibes. Other
Yes.
content creators we would love to see, obviously Circumflexes. He will make a great contender for Team Clash.
I think he would be like, for the memes, Team Clash 2.0.
All of his teams would just be Zwhatsh155 spamming HE. That would be hilarious.
The Killstore, of course. Love you, boy.
He's a fantastic guy. Go check him out if you haven't already. That Killstore is a wonderful streamer. I would love to see him in the game.
Arsenal, he's been in the community for a long time. Would
Yeah.
love to see him as well. And the Polish community in World of Tanks is huge, so we would like to see new multi 2K as well. I
Yeah.
think the Polish people would really appreciate that.
Yeah, we know there are a lot more content creators out there, but those are just like the big names who we think would deserve a spot long before we got a spot into this. If Wargaming put some of those that we just mentioned in the next Team Clash, that'd be great, and I think the community would appreciate that as well.
But let us know, what content creators would you like to see if a Team Clash 2.0 will ever happen?
And now, people, we would love to hear your thoughts and opinions about Team Clash. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was it meh? Did you enjoy the content creators? Which team did you pick? What teams would you like to see in different Team Clashes in the future? Would you like to see this on your own server if you're playing outside Russia and Europe? Let us know everything you want to say in the comments below. Zwhatsh, you need to have an epic sign out.
Thanks everybody for watching. And have a great day, people.